Hello, you're welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate you. If you are here to subscribe to this channel, please click on that subscribe button so you can become a member of this sewing family. Thank you. So the first thing you're going to be doing to draft a basic short is we are going to be drafting our lines, which serves as our baseline from where we're going to be taking all our horizontal measurements. So once you're done with that, then you go on to draft your vertical baseline on top, as you see me do like this. So we always draw this line so that we can make sure that our lines are straight. Okay, so the one on top is going to serve as our baseline for the vertical measurements. All right, and it's also our waistline. So we're going to be taking all our measurements from that line. Okay, so the next thing now we're going to be measuring out all our vertical lines first. Okay, so we go ahead to measure out our hip line. For me, my hip line is 7.5 inches from my waist. Okay, and my crotch line depth is 10 inches from my waist also, and then my trouser length is 16 inches. That is for the pant length, the short pant. So I want it to stop on 16 inches. And then my tie line is 13 inches. If you don't know how to measure that, you can just come down by 3 or 4 inches from your crotch line. Okay, and to measure the crotch line, you're going to sit down on a stool and you're going to measure from your waist down to the surface of the stool. That is for the beginners. All right, so after you're done tracing all the lines, then we're going to be ruling it out to form a straight line so that we can properly mark out all our measurements on the lines. All right, so that is what you see me do like this. I'm going to be tracing out all our vertical lines, okay, to form an horizontal line. All right, so now once you're done with that, then the next thing now to do, I'm going to be labeling all our lines so that we're not going to get confused about any line. All right, now we want to measure out our horizontal hip line, which is round our hip. Now to get our hip, for me my hip is 39 inches. Okay, I'll be adding 1 inch allowance for ease, which will make it 40. So this 40, I'll divide it by 4, which will give me 10. All right, the hip will be divided by 4. Okay, so I'm marking out my 10 inches on my hip line. Now to get my crotch line, I'm going to be marking out the 10 inches of my hip also on the crotch line and on my waistline also. So that 10 inches for my hip line, I'm going to mark it on my waistline, my hip line, and on my crotch line, so that can give me a straight line. So this straight line now serves as a basis for my short pant. All right, so now to get the crotch line now, so what we're going to be doing, we're going to take that 10 inches which we had for our hip, okay, to get the crotch curve. Sorry, that means by how much is going to be protruding out. So I'm going to divide that 10 by 4 inches, okay, which gives us 2.5. You're going to divide your hip, that hip you got, into 4, divide it into 4 again. So whatever you get, you're going to be extending that crotch line with whatever you get. That is going to form your crotch curve. All right, so mine is 2.5, so I added 2.5 to that crotch line to give me the crotch curve. Now I'm going to be connecting that line, that crotch curve extension. I'm going to be connecting it to my hip line measurement. All right, so after I'm done with that, can you see it's already giving me that curve already. All right, now the next thing I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to be measuring out my tie. Okay, for me my tie is 23, so divided by 2, which is 11 and a half. All right, our tie is going to be divided by 2, not divided by 4. Okay, and that tie line is like 3 or 4 inches below your crotch line, depending on how tall you are. Okay, so I've marked out that 11 and a half inches. Now I'm going to be coming down to my waist, and for me my waist, I'm going to be measuring out my waist circumference, which is round my waist. Okay, now round my waist is 30 inches, so I'm going to be adding ½ inch allowance, which is going to serve as the ease. So which do you understand that, which makes it 3.5. So I'm dividing that by 4, which gives me 7.625. Okay, so I'm going to be measuring out 7.625 on my waistline. I already did an extensive explanation on how to get all your tape measures in my video. You can check down on my videos. You see where I explained how to properly calculate and read measurements on your tape measure. All right, so I've marked out that line and I've added 1 inch for that allowance on the waistline. So from that line, I'm going to be connecting down to my hip line. Okay, so after I'm done with that, now I'm going to be coming to my thigh line. All right, where I marked 11.5 inches, but mind you, I deducted half of an inch on this side just for fittings. So I'm going to be marking out that ½ inch on that side. Okay, now I'm going to go to my trouser length. I'm going to do the same thing, deduct half of an inch and measure out whatever I have on my thigh line is what I'm going to be measuring out on my trouser length, since it's a short pant. Okay, so whatever I have on my thigh is what I'm going to be measuring on my trouser length, or else you want that trouser length to be more fitted. So if you want it to be more fitted, you can come in by maybe 1 inch or 1.5. all right, but I want it to be a straight pant, so that's why I'm coming in by exactly the same thing that I used to measure on my thigh line. I just came in by 1/4 of an inch. Okay, now I'm joining the lines together. All right, I'm joining them to my hip line and also from the crotch line down to the trouser length. All right, now what I'm going to be doing now, I want to remove out my waist dart. All right, I'm going on to the dart now. So I'm going to be measuring my crotch line. What I have on my crotch line, I'm dividing it by 2. all right, so I'll be marking what I divide by 2 on my crotch line. You can see my crotch line is 12.5, so divided by 2 is 6.25. okay, my crotch line is 12.5 divided by 2, that's 6.25. okay, so I'll be measuring now 6.25 on my waistline as I've done like this, and on my thigh. So from that, I'm going to draw a straight line from my waistline down to my crotch line. Okay, now I'm going to come on my waistline. I'll be deducting half. I already added 1 inch initially, so I'll be deducting that 1 inch away, which is half of an inch on that waistline. So that is going to serve as our dart for that waistline. Okay, so now to give it the proper fitness, if you are using a band, you're going to be deducting like 1.5 inches or 2, but this tutorial I'm not putting a band. I'm just going to be using a bias to turn it at the waistline. Okay, it's not going to be having a band. In my subsequent videos, I'm going to be explaining to you how to put a band on short pants. Okay, but for this tutorial, I'm not putting a band. So for the dart, I want it to be 4 inches long. Okay, so your dart can be 4 or 5 inches long depending on how tall you are. If you are a tall person, you can make it 5 inches from your waistline, but for this tutorial I'm making it 4 inches from my waistline because the dart mustn't be too long also. Okay, so that's for the dart. So guys, that is for the dart. All right, now I'm just shaping out my hip to give out that curve. You know, our hip is curved, our hip is not straight. I'm just drawing out that curve on my hip. All right, now the next thing I'm going to, so once you're done with that, now I'm going to be adding sewing allowance to my pants. Okay, I'm going to be adding sewing allowance of the trouser length. All right, so for this tutorial I'm going to be adding 3 inches sewing allowance. Okay, because I want that allowance side to be a little bit bogus. Okay, you can add 2, you can add 3, but please do not let it be less than 2. All right, so I'm just going to rule out that mark for my sewing allowance. Okay, so once I'm done with that, then I'm going to be taking the measurement on my thigh line. That is exactly what I'm going to be measuring on that sewing allowance. The reason is because I'm going to fold this allowance on the pants. Okay, and it's going to be stopping as on the thigh line so that it can be in uniform. So I'm going to be measuring what I have on my thigh and measuring it on my sewing allowance. Okay, so now after I'm done with that, then I'm going to connect the lines together. All right, I'm going to be connecting the line from the trouser length down to my sewing allowance. Okay, so now I'm just going to be adding half of an inch sewing allowance to all my pants. But before that, I want to come down by 1 inch on that waistline. Reason is to remove that excess that's going to be in the front of the pant. Remove that bogus, that excess. So I'm deducting 1 inch from that side in front. Okay, it's going to make the pant fitted. It's not going to be having excess at that front area, that puff effect. So that is why I deducted 1 inch from that side. So after I'm done with that, I'm going to be adding half of an inch allowance to all of my measurement. Have you seen? So I've added half of an inch allowance to all of my pants. Okay, so that half an inch is what what's going to serve as the sewing allowance. Okay, so that is my hem allowance. So now that is my trouser length. Okay, my tie line, my crotch line, my hip line. All right, so now from that side down to this hem line, that is my hem allowance for the trouser length. Okay, so you can see that crotch line is bulging out. That is how it ought to be, to give you that freeness and that ease at that crotch and tie area. Okay, so we're going to be labeling our pattern. This is the front. All right, okay, so in my subsequent videos, I'm going to be sharing with you how to be putting a pocket on a short pant. All right, so you need to subscribe to my channel and turn on your notification bell so you get notified when I put up that video. All right, so now I've tried to secure my front with my sellotape, with my tape on a new pattern paper. So I'm going to be drawing out all the lines from my front. Now we are going on to draft the back for this pant. Okay, so I'm just going to be drawing out the lines on the new pattern paper instead of remeasuring again. I'm just going to be drawing out the lines and reconnecting them back, so you can also go on to do that for your pants. All right, so just go on to draw out your lines on the new pattern paper as you see me do, like this, and connect. So from that area of the crotch curve, you're going to be coming out by 2 inches, not from your allowance but from the initial measurement. Okay, you're going to be extending it by 2 inches on your back pattern. You're going to be coming down by 1 inch on that 2 inch mark that you've come out from initially. All right, you're going to coming down by 1 inch. Okay, so that's going to serve as our new crotch curve for the back pattern. All right, now you're going to be measuring that side. For me it is 4. You're going to divide it by 2. Okay, from that line of the dart to your waistline, then you're going to divide that line by 2. Okay, so now I'm going to be connecting from that line down to the new crotch line that we have. All right, you're going to be connecting the line together from that new crotch curve we have to that point. All right, you're going to be tracing out the curve out. Okay, coming out by 2 inches also on that side, and we're just going to join it out. Okay, now I'm going to use your curve rule to curve out, and if you don't have a curve, you can use your free hand to curve out that shape down to the crotch curve, and you're going to link it to that line you had on the waistline. Okay, so once you're done connecting out that line, okay, you're going to place back the front, and you're going to be drawing a connecting line from that new crotch curve, okay, down to the hem allowance. All right, as you see me do, like this. Okay, so So now on the waistline, we're going to be coming up by 2 inches. Okay, you know I've deducted 1 inch from the front waist. All right, so we're going to be coming up at the back by 2 inches. Now we're going to measure what we have on our waistline, and we're going to be putting that same measurement on the waistline for the back, and you're going to connect the lines together. Okay, so once you're done with that, then I'm going to be coming up by 1 inch on the side there. Okay, 1 inch, and I'm going to be joining the line to the hip line. All right, I'm going to be joining it to the hip line. That is our 1 inch ease for the back piece. All right, so I'm just going to be drawing out all the other lines that I have for the front. Okay, so now I'm just going to be joining out the lines and be joining out the darts. Okay, I'm going to be drawing out the darts. So the exact measurement I used in front is what I'm going to be using at the back also, and it's going to be 4 inches long as well. All right, and I'm going to be drawing that line out and removing out 1/2 inch on both sides, as I did for the front panel as well. Okay, so once you're done with that, I'm just going to go ahead to label all my lines here also. So after you're done labeling, I'm going to be using my marker to draw out all the lines for proper visibility. Okay, can you see? So this here, now you have your back piece for the pant. All right, in my subsequent video, my next one, I'm going to be showing you guys how to draft these on your fabric, and I'm also going to be taking you through how to sew a pant trouser. And in my subsequent video also, I'm going to be showing you how to put a band on the pant, and also how to sew in pockets for your pants. Okay, so if you really want to see that, you need to go ahead to click on the subscribe button now and turn on the notification bell so that you get notified once the video is out. All right, so this is what our front and our back piece looks like for our pants. Can you see it's already looking perfect and fine? So you're going to go ahead to use your own body measurements to make this. All right, you can see how it's coming out, how all the whole sides are being straight and curvy. All right, and don't forget to label all your lines. See you in my next video.